Okay, so what I'm learning is maybe don't build the healing spires. But yeah, as I was saying, the like the postage, they're expensive. Maybe not. Yeah, the postage was double
Turret complete.
the cost of the actual sugar cane, and it's like I'm not sure about
The
that.
enemy is moving quickly and
Supply
aggressively.
pad upgraded.
We did,
We'll
yeah,
try to
UNSC.
attack before we're ready.
I don't. Why would you do that? I could understand if it was on a different map, in all honesty, but yeah, I was talking to a friend and saying like,
Supply pad complete.
okay, I guess this game, what? Okay, yes, yeah, I was talking to a friend. I said like, hey, I'm trying to find some fucking sugarcane, and it's just not happening.
Supply pad complete.
And as I said that, like sorry, let me just, okay.
Supply pad complete.
I remember this being, oh no, it was this, yeah. I remember it being really good. And as I said that to my friend, I just checked,
Air
I
pad
wonder if that's
complete.
still true. And no,
Supply
well, it
pad
wasn't true.
upgraded.
Yeah, they fucking had them for sale. And it was in England. And like, in total, including the postage, it was half the price of the post.
Local units.
Why did I choose UNSC Survival as the Flood when they have flamethrowers? Fuck's sake. I think we just focus on economy at the start, to be honest.
Local units. All units.
Yeah, and so I ordered that, and it's doing really well, to be honest.
Supply
It'd
pad
just be
upgraded.
nice for it to be doing well, in a crab tank where it should be, rather than just on the fucking windowsill. But yeah, this pond
Supply
has
pad
been
upgraded.
a fucking pain in the ass, to be honest. We used to have two. The first one got filled in because it leaked. But no, sorry, it didn't leak. It had a puncture or something like that. And I think, we just decided that it wasn't, it just wasn't worth the the time and the effort to fix it, essentially. And so we didn't. We had it filled in. Problem is, the person that fucking filled it in left the liner in the ground. Not only did he leave the liner in the ground, he left all of the pebbles
Our ally
and the
reports that he is
rocks
attacking the enemy here.
that used to be. I mean, you can attack them there, but I can't fucking see what you're pointing at because your fucking attention marker is the same
Local units.
background is. And so yeah, trying to dig through all those rocks was really not fun. And then when you get to one end, there was a load of tree roots in there as well, which took forever to dig through. And then it started raining, and because the pond liner was still in the ground, it leaked, but it still retained water enough. And so I had to wait about a week for it to drain off. You know, because it was filling back up. And so I had to wait for that, and you know, it was also
All
raining,
units.
which I don't want to be digging in the
All
middle of the
units.
rain anyway. And then my shovel broke, and I'm not even using the correct tools in the first place, and all this sort of stuff. And so, you know, I finally get that bit out, and then I move on to the next area, which was in between the two ponds.
Age of doubt. Research.
And the soil is that sort of like really
All units.
clay dense soil, but it had been really warm. And the problem with that is that the really warm weather had essentially like dried it out to the point where,
Local units.
sorry, you guys, just do something like that. Yeah, the really warm weather had dried the soil out, and so all of the clay had become rock hard, which is not good. It meant that I was essentially mining through the ground instead of digging. So that took forever, and then as I'm doing that, I noticed that, oh, there's a big, like, seam of this sort of slate type stuff. You know what I mean? The really, man, my guy's retarded. I was gonna say maybe he's doing something here, but no, he is doing not good.
All units.
I don't like that they've got turrets, but no, don't assault that position, and don't steal the base from that guy. Oh, you retard! The base is gonna be fucking dead before you get here.
Age of reclamation. Research.
We need additional supplies. We should flare one of their supplies.
I was gonna
to send us some.
I was gonna say some slurs if if that was Red saying that. There we go. See, you weren't even halfway here, and the base is already dead. You fucking like the AI in this game sometimes, man. But then yeah, I pull out this this big like seam of rock. You know, it was loose. I didn't have to like dig it through as many. You know, like any proper rock.
Under attack.
Oh, you
Flare one of their supply
All
pods. We would
units.
like them to
just
send
did
us
that
some.
intentionally to piss me off, didn't he? Where are these coming from? Oh, I guess they're coming from here or here, and because we don't have this base yet,
All units.
it's doing that. We can get one layers, which is good against air, isn't it? I don't know, it doesn't say.
All units.
But yeah, it was that sort of horrible. Like, how'd you put it? It would, you know, it's the stuff where if you like chip it, it forms those like really sharp edges, and it's also really easy to chip, and so obviously a big risk to be building a pond over the top of it.
Station upgrade complete.
You know, it just rip the rubber.
units.
But eventually, yeah, effective against there. Eventually I got that out, and then I move on to the other bit, and there's a fucking bush in there, in the way, just in the pond, because that was the second pond, and we had that filled in because my nan fell in it when she was alive, which,
Turret
yeah,
upgrade.
okay, now that's a
Ramming
fair
tunnels
reason.
research. Mega barrage research.
Jesus, that's a... Oh no, they do have a limit, I think, of 9.
Fortress upgrade complete.
But yeah, you know, it would be a completely reasonable thing to do. The only problem
Turret complete.
is that she fell in there because she was, you know, physically unfit. Oh, no, sorry, not unfit, but like
Supply pad
unable.
complete.
Which is, you know, a genuine reason, something to be worried about. This is really bad.
Allied force on the way.
Supply pad complete.
I'm gonna do this. It's not gonna kill anything, but it's gonna be rather annoying for us if he loses that base, which is almost inevitable, it seems like. No, he hasn't taken. Oh, for fuck's sake. That's going to be annoying, but there's nothing I can really do about it.
Supply pad upgraded.
But yeah, she fell in the pond because she was physically unable, which, you know, happens in old age.
Local
I'm not
units.
blaming her for that or anything, but
Supply pad
you know what I mean. You're
Supply pad upgraded.
sort of worrying about this old woman being, you know, falling into the pond, and oh no, she might this and she might that. You know, they're sort of
Local
genuine concerns, and then you realise that, hold on, if she's unable to
units.
stand up
Complete.
near the pond, then she's probably not going to be able to stand up for much longer in general. And pretty much around that time, she became
Base under attack.
like literally just unable to walk down the garden. And so, you know, it's like, oh, we had this pond filled in for her safety, and it's like, yeah. And then she made it so that she didn't make it, but she just lost. Oh shit! Sorry. She just lost the ability to like properly go outside anyway, and so it's like, oh, we had this thing filled in for, I don't want to say no reason, but for a reason that it's actually fixed itself within a rather short amount of time, and now I've spent the past 3 fucking months digging it back out.
Barracks complete.
And that was also, there's a load of geotextile left in the ground. Get that. Yeah, there's also a load of like pond liner and stuff like that left in the ground. Obviously, there's a massive amount of like plants that were just put in there. There was a fucking tree in there, which, you know, I can understand. We wanted to fill that space with something, but you know, an entire bush and a tree, maybe not, maybe. But the problem with the tree, sorry, not the tree, the bush. Yeah, we do actually want to get all these upgraded. I forgot how good these things were. The problem with all that stuff was
Turret complete.
the bush. Essentially, it was
Units.
so dense and so close to the ground that I couldn't get in there to dig it up, and so I ended up just asking a couple family members It's like, hey, is this anything? Because there's quite a few plants in the garden that are like sentimental.
Ramming charge research.
You know what I mean? That they're kind of like, yeah, don't get rid of that type thing. And that, you know, that's fair enough.
Boost research.
I, you know, wanted to make sure I wasn't digging up something that would be important or sentimental or anything like that. So you should probably go here. That's not good. Strength of the Flood.
Gauntlet research.
100%. But when I did, or everyone I said like, no, that's just a bush. That's just there to fill space, essentially. And so I just took a big pair of like gardening tree pruners and just chopped it up. I've stuck a load of the random branches. It just stuck them in the ground. If they grow, they grow. If not, then you know those cuttings were going in the fire bin anyway. So you know, I mean, it's not like we lose anything if they die.
Defense gauntlet research.
But yeah, there's still I don't want to say a large amount. There's a large area that needs little doing to it, essentially. You know, I'm at the end where I want a nice shallow bit. Cause it's mainly like wildlife pond. Don't really care about fish, to be honest. And so I want, you know, nice shallow area where I can get a load of, you know, that's like where the frogs are going to go in and out type thing. And so, whereas before I was making big foot deep, well, probably 2 foot deep, over like a small area. And so it's like, you know, you look at it and there's like a foot deep section that has been removed, and you can see like a really nice progression from the day before.
Local units.
With this, yeah, no, that just don't have that. Just because I'm taking like a foot at, I'm taking like a couple inches
Enemy engagement.
over a massive area, and so it looks like I'm doing relatively little.
Units.
When, you know, I'm doing a fair amount in terms of the actual soil moved. It just really doesn't look like it, which has been one of the biggest problems. You know, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain it. You either know exactly what I mean or have no clue at all. In that, you know, like when you're doing something and at the end of the day it looks like you've done nothing. You know, when there's no, you can't look at what you've done and be like, oh yeah, I've made a lot of progress today. When you just sort of go like, wow, it looks like I've done nothing. That's really demotivating. That's what it's been like for most of this fucking project. I mean, we should be fine.
Reinforcements research.
Think I can just do an all, yeah, I mean, Gremlin's not hit air units.
Research. Local units.
But yeah, as I've got like a couple days worth of work left to do. Probably not even that, probably literally just a day's worth. Depending on, obviously. You know, the soil it's better. There's no
Local units.
there's no giant hunks of rock or
Defiant Rage
Our
research.
ally has extra supplies.
you know,
We should flare
anything like that.
pads if we would like
There's no issues with the soil, other than, you know, there are roots because just pull the fucking bush out of there. But it's no major issue. It's just the problem of, man, this shit's fucking exhausting.
Reserves researched.
Like, seriously exhausting.
Local units. Boost researched. Base under attack.
And that's pretty much the biggest issue that I'm facing. It's exhausting, it's demotivating, it's terrible, I hate it. You know what I mean? I just want it to be over.
Local units.
And so I'm meeting with family in town in,
Gauntlet research.
you know, 2 days. And so I've got today and tomorrow to finish the pond. And at the moment, my physical abilities, you know, my shoulder makes it so that I can just about play Halo Wars. I can use a controller without being in pain. That's my limit at the moment. And so we're
Local units.
maybe not going to hit that deadline. I say it
Research.
doesn't really matter. It's just so,
Enemy engagement.
you know what I mean? I want to say like, oh yeah, I finished it. And that doesn't really do much, does it? Yeah, I just want to be able to say like, totally finished. You know, I don't have to do any more. And, you know, I want to go see my grandma. And all that shit.
Mega Barrage research.
But I said like, you know, I'll finish the pond first and then I'll come see you.
Repair kit research.
Yeah,
Local
that's not going too great at the moment, unfortunately.
Enemy engagement.
But I mean,
Enemy engagement.
we'll get there
Enemy
eventually.
engagement.
I hope.
Local units. All units.
That's pretty much all I've done, to be honest. Like, over the past few months, it has literally just been like, oh, I need to finish the pond. I need to finish the pond. I need to finish the pond. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it's like,
Ramming Targe research.
you know, the idea was,
Enemy engagement.
if I do it myself, you know what I mean, rather than pay someone a couple £100 to do it for me, I could save a couple £100, and that would mean I don't have to,
All units.
you know what I mean, I like save enough money from
All
not
units.
paying someone to do it for me, and that then means
All
that,
units.
you know, I can use that money that I would have otherwise spent to buy the liner and the underlay and everything.
All units.
And so it's like, you know, in some ways it's kind of like I did it for free, right? Obviously not really. The AI is fucking retarded with these things.
All units.
Our ally is launching an attack here.
All units.
But yeah, I think honestly, at this point, just based on the fact that I'm not the the fittest person alive, and I don't have the right fucking tools either. It probably would have just been better to go like work a minimum wage job at like fucking Tesco's or something. And the money that I would have made from doing that would have been, you know, enough to pay someone to. Sorry, I thought it was a. You know, like a tower thing that stays.
All units.
I think we just do one of them, right?
All units.
But yeah, I'm sort of at the point
Our ally is launching an attack here.
where I'm not even really excited anymore.
All units.
It's not like, oh yeah, I want to get a pond and I want to have the pond finished and I want to do the pond and it's going to be really cool and I like frogs and dragonflies and stuff like that and I want to get some bulrushes in. I'm just kind of at the point where it's like, man, I can't wait to be able to wake up and to not have to worry about going out and fucking digging.
All units.
That's like my main goal at the moment is just to be able to sleep in. That's it.
Station upgrade complete.
Because the thing is, obviously, you know, it's getting to be autumn, and so you know, realistically, it's gonna take probably not the biggest amount of time, but you know, it's gonna take a couple weeks probably to get the liner like manufactured and everything like that. It's probably gonna take a bit of time to do, you know, that sort of stuff. I've then got to worry about like the ground and making sure that it's
Enemy engagement.
compacted enough and all that stuff. And then one of the problems is there is like a lot of shit in the soil. Oh, hello. You only take 15 population, don't you? Yeah. I didn't know if it was 15 pop 2000 or 20 pop 1500 resources. Yeah, there is a lot of shit in the ground. And as a result, I'm gonna have to dig that out. Sorry, not dig that out, like sort of sieve that out.
All units.
You know what I mean? There's like broken glass and broken ceramic and all that sort of shit. Just
Base under attack.
in the ground. Not what I meant.
All units.
Yeah, there's so much like sharp
All units. Defense gauntlet. Research.
what do you want to call it, like dangers to a pond liner. There's so much stuff like that in the ground that I'm just gonna have to like sieve it or something,
All units.
because obviously I want a natural pond. I want to have it filled with soil, you know, the pond, which, you know,
All units.
in theory shouldn't be a problem if you have proper soil. The problem is that
Defense
it's
gauntlet. Research.
full of fucking glass and ceramics and shit like that is the problem, and so I'm gonna have to sieve that or something. It's gonna take forever. I don't know. I might ask some family. They should.
All units.
I think. Like the family that owns the farm. Sorry, the family. The part of our family that owns the farm.
Our allied reports that he is attacking the enemy here.
I think he has some sort of soil purifying thing. Hopefully, no, sorry, I want you to get rid of the vulture. There we go. No problem at all. Why is he creating elephants? My friend just killed one of my big flappy things. Hellion. Yeah, I love Zestiria too.
All units.
No, I fucking don't.
All units.
I love it in theory. I wish I could say I loved it, but it's honestly, it's just aggressively
All
boring.
units.
Man, that was another thing that I came out recently, isn't it? Some of the new games have been announced. You know, the new Space Marine, hey, that actually looks pretty decent, and I kind of want to play that. There was then the AMD, wasn't it? Their announcement for sorry, I want something useless like you. Yeah, we should be able to get there in time. Yeah, I think it was the AMD announcement at least, where they said they're gonna shift away from targeting the top 10% and they're gonna go back to focusing on the average person, the 90%,
Local units.
which 100% is a good idea. You know, there's less
Local units.
profit per sale, but you know, you make more sales. Really not an advanced business sort of strategy of more sales,
Local units.
good. You know, even if maybe you don't get the same amount per sale. You know, selling 1,000 things that you make 50 quid off is better than selling 10 you make 100 quid off of.
Allied scouting party on location.
All units.
And so hopefully, AMD will actually, you know, create something that's...
Your team is victorious.
Are we? I thought we had to take out these things first. Okay. Obviously, we came third. Our base score is terrible, and our multiplier is also terrible. Despite the fact that we... Oh, I guess because our efficiency is really low. Our economy is also low because the AI cheats. Our tech level is also bugged. But yeah, man, the new Space Marine game looks pretty good. It's just, yeah, there's no way my GPU can handle that at all. And so, I'm just relying on AMD giving, you know, a good low to mid-level card, which historically it's been really bad over the past few years. You know, the fact that the 1060 is still considered like the best budget card, or at this point I think the 1080 is considered budget considering the whole second-hand thing and it being cheaper. But yeah, the fact that the 1660, if that was a card, and the 2060 and the 3060 and definitely the 4060, which I was considering buying. 'Cause it actually seems very much what I want. I want something that's, going to be low power and going to be, not running warm. Because my room gets obnoxiously hot. If I'm being honest. And I don't really want a high-end card. I just want something that can play new games on minimum. That's all I care about. I'm running with a monitor that at this point is at least a decade old. It's not gonna benefit from 4K anything. I would enjoy. I would quite like to have a better GPU just so I can run an AI generator locally. Just because, man, some of the website versions are kinda shit. Just like everything about them is just really bad. I want to be able to run a proper version locally. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I am getting to the point where it's like, yeah, I really should upgrade. But at the same time, the 4060, even still, it's 400 quid. And it's like, maybe no. Maybe no to that one. Maybe actually, I would like it if it was maybe half of that. That's maybe what I would be willing to pay at most. Because it's not a powerful card. It's just the price is a bit inflated. And the thing, I know it doesn't. Oh, you bastard! Me fucking shoulder. Ooh, sorry, I move and it's better than yesterday. If you ever done like any sort of medical stuff where it involves pain, that chart where it's like 1, 2, and 3 out of 10 are sort of like it has an impact on your life, but it isn't life altering. 4, 5, and 6 are like you are like your daily tasks are being changed and impacted by the pain, and 7, 8, 9 are like you are unable to do things that a normal person should be able to do. It was like a 2, maybe a 3 yesterday, where it's like I can still do everything, but it is bordering on having to do it in a different way. Having to use my right arm to do things that my left arm should be doing. But it's sort of gone down to like a 1 to a 2 today, where it's like it's noticeable when I do certain things. The thing that I don't understand, that I sort of, I don't want to say worried, but the thing that I don't like about it is I didn't do anything. It wasn't there when I woke up yesterday morning, considering the day before I'd been out digging. It's like, if my shoulder started complaining the day after I'd done, a load of digging, I could put it up like, oh yeah, overexertion. I'll just take a couple days to rest. The problem is it sort of appeared at like, evening time yesterday. And so it's like, what the fuck has caused this? But it has gone down overnight, so I should be fine tomorrow. Even if I'm not, realistically, it's a sore arm, you know. There's worse that could happen. But yeah, I know it doesn't I know it doesn't really matter, and that most like most graphics cards are sort of interchangeable. But I do have an AMD CPU, and so maybe switching to an AMD GPU might be a good idea. Maybe. I'm also I think it's too early to say at the moment, but I am fairly sure that I will be I mean, you know how there was like that what do you want to call it? Oh, you like ideal console progression chart where it goes like PS2 into a DS, into an Xbox 360, into a Wii, and then into a gaming computer. And there's like the sort of I think that it might be time for me, from do my next switch. I mean, I think that maybe the time is coming where I switch, instead of from an Xbox 360 to a gaming PC, I switch my current gaming PC to a Linux one, because Windows 11, that's going to be a no. It's going to be a no from me. I'm I prefer when big tech companies, I prefer when they keep their spyware as like a secret, instead of trying to psyop people into thinking that it's a good thing that they're spying on you. I prefer when they just secretly did it and didn't try and make it sound like a good feature. Um, because I'm not gonna trust any company. Like, no, you can keep your spyware stuff. I'll just move to an operating system that actually cares about its. I don't want to say customers, because it's Linux. It's fucking free open source. But you know what I mean. I'll I'll just I'll take my business to a company that actually maybe cares, maybe that actually likes its user base. Also, the fact that even Windows 10 is rather barren when it comes to actual features. Um, yeah. Remember when like basic programs? Remember when they were, like included in the operating system rather than having to pay a fucking subscription for them? Remember that? And so I think that I will either, depending on when, and depending on what news happens, um, depending on what updates come out, it might be a case of, instead of just taking my old GPU out of my computer and putting a new one in, it might be a case of like, oh, I'm gonna maybe take out the SSD and maybe put a new one in, and start fresh on Linux. Maybe. But I just like, when I look at a GPU, it kind of comes back to that sugarcane, right? I didn't want to buy the stuff from Sri Lanka because, if I'm being honest, I don't give a shit about border control. I think that customs in general are a bunch of cunts, and the import tax is, just give me my stuff. Just give me, please. Stop taxing me and stop saying that I'm not allowed to bring certain things in. Who gives a shit about CITES? I'm buying a fucking sugarcane plant for my crabs. It's, I can understand why they exist, and I can understand why taxes exist. That doesn't mean I want to fucking pay them. Especially inheritance tax. That shit's genuinely a scam. Like inheritance tax and also fucking bedroom tax in England. Admittedly, I don't know much about that other than that it's fucking retarded. But inheritance tax, yeah, my money that my family before me earned, and they paid tax on, and then over time it got worth less and less because of inflation, and that when I spend that money, I will have to pay tax on the things that I buy. So it's been taxed twice and has already lost a decent chunk of its value. That money I also have to pay a third set of tax on because the government are greedy cunts. And to be honest, paying tax all in this country is a scam, considering that none of the public services actually work properly. Something. What was it? About a month ago now? I can't even remember. No, I think it was about 2 months ago, wasn't it? I don't have to say anything more than that. You know what I mean. But yeah, sort of. What would I buy? Sorry, what would I play with a new GPU? And it's like, okay, Elden Ring, Age of Wonder. I think is the name. Age of Wonders 3, I think is the name. And the new Space Marine game. The cost of those 3 games is less than half of the cost of a GPU, which is once again the sugarcane. I think it was about £8 for the root stock and 20 for the postage, and I didn't want to pay the postage. So, you know what I mean? I don't want to pay that much for something that I don't care. I've said it many times. I think that the pursuit, the sort of like obsession with, oh, this game is the most photoreal. I think it's just fucking boring. You know what I mean? It's like, what games do you look back on and think that they look good? And the only ones that look good in retrospect are the ones that were never photorealistic. You look back on Minecraft and you're not thinking, wow, this looks bad. You're thinking, wow, this looks nostalgic because it hasn't changed, because it didn't try and go after what I mean, like a Sisyphean task of like, oh, we're gonna make it photorealistic. I mean, it's gonna look terrible. Give it a few years, it will look terrible. Admittedly, we're at the point where that's probably going to stop, but at the same time, we're at the point where you're looking at like almost a decade in dev time to make anything decent, because modern day gamer, they don't want anything unless it's unless you can see the sweat pores on the horse's testicles, because realism. And it's like, haha, yeah, that's cool and all, but there have been indie games that are that have hours of replayability that were created in less time than it took for that one 3D artist to model and program the model and the sort of physics in that horse's balls. You know, is it really worth it? And no, it's not. You know, even like there are some games where Dark Souls 3 mods look atrocious on low settings. I will fully admit that. I will say that the Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think, the Greek one, the only one I've played of the new one, and that will certainly remain that way, shall we say. The cutscenes in that game look utter shit on lowest, which just give me a pre-rendered cutscene, please. You know, I get that you have to do in-game rendering because you need to show off the skins and the cosmetics, but please just, for the love of fucking Christ, give me a pre-rendered cutscene. But the actual game doesn't look that bad. You know, it definitely doesn't look good, but I mean, nothing in that game is good. Let's be honest. And so I'm perfectly fine. I'm currently on a 960, and it's not just a 960. It's one that is really beat up and degraded from a literal decade of use. I bought this thing new when you know when the 960 was just being released. Ow. And I have used it very heavily in the entire decade since that happened. And so yeah, it's kind of shit if I'm being honest. And it is definitely time to upgrade, but it just depends. I don't think I have faith in Nvidia anymore. I just whatever the 5060 is, if there even is one, it's probably just gonna be kind of bad. You know what I mean? It's probably not gonna be like worthless or anything. It's just gonna be that the price they want for it is just extortionate for the value you get from it. You know, I want something that will run cool and that will not have a massive power draw and that is cheap. That's all I want. I don't want to pay 400 quid for it. You know what I mean? Um, if that isn't the case, if the new Nvidia 50 series is terrible, then maybe AMD and their new focus on, well, not new, but their sort of refocusing on the lower end, the medium, the average person that doesn't want a 2000 card graphics card that you need a special case to fucking fit in because it's 5 slots wide. You know, those would be nice. Maybe. Just depends on what they do with it, really. I don't really keep up to date with tech news, to be honest, because it's one of those things where tech news is just it's like spreadsheets. You know what I mean? It's like yeah, I can't remember the game. What are those spreadsheet games? What are those ones called again? It's like that, but the news version, and it's just like, no, I'm really, if I'm being honest, I'm really just not interested. But see what happens. If if you ever see Halo Wars 2 gameplay on this, well, that's another thing that would be nice is being able to run games in a virtual machine. I'm sure you can put two and two together. Why I wouldn't want to run certain specifically EXEs on a host system. You know, why. There was a game called Lost Planet 2 that I would like to play, and I just don't want to download it on my actual operating system on my host. But at the same time, I'm not sure if I could get a VM with enough GPU. But I'm not even sure if. Well, actually, no. My GPU sort of anything after like 2015 time, maybe 2016. You know what I mean? Like Dark Souls 3 is the cutoff point, I think. No, because even then, yeah, I'm going to say that Dark Souls 3 is the cutoff point. That's like the most recent game that I can play on like medium high settings. Anything after that, you're sort of looking at low to medium settings. Yeah, it's kind of a retarded computer that I have because I've got high speed, low latency, dual 16 gig RAM sticks, and what was at the time the top end CPU only a few years ago as well. Still a actually pretty decent CPU. My computer's actually pretty good, and then I've just got an absolute worthless graphics card in there. But yeah, I've also got. I'm looking for an Akita, and I'm looking for specifically a Moku or Mokuge Akita, which is a special long hair variety. And wow, they are hard to find. Because my cat at this point is he's 20 years old. His 20th birthday was about 3 weeks ago. It was, last month minus a week. So, like, in a month, it'll be exactly in a week, it'll be exactly a month since his 20th birthday. Which, 20 in cat years is, I think, 96 is the equivalent of a human. So, like, the odds of a cat getting to 20 is the same odds as a human getting to 96. And so, yeah, he's not got much longer left, but that's fine. He's old, but he isn't. You know what I mean? Because there was in 2022, we had a really, really bad heat wave. I'm talking like my room. I've got a thermometer in my room, just because I've got exotic animals and stuff like that in here. I've got a thermometer just to make sure that the room itself is at a decent temperature. And because sometimes, it's like, am I just, ill? Is that why it's feeling hot? Or is it just because it is actually hot? Normally, the first digit never changes. Normally, it's always a 2. Sometimes if I wake up in the middle of the night, it's a 1. It's like that, 17 to 19 range, which is like, oh, that's break out the portable heater overnight. Getting on that level. It very, very rarely, even in summer, sometimes it peaks up to, low to mid 30s, and there might be a day or two where it gets mid-30s. 2022, it peaked into the 40s in my room. Admittedly, yeah, 41. But that's in my room. That's not like, oh, outside and in my room. It's mid-20s because I've got air conditioner. It's like, no, that's low 40s. You have no air conditioner. You have no aircon. You have nothing like that. You have a fan and a tiny window that you can hardly open. Obviously, my room is upstairs. I get all of the heat that goes because my room is an extension that was put on the top of the house. There's nothing between me and the roof. My ceiling is the roof, and so everything that, like, all of the energy from the sun that goes into the roof that would normally end up in the attic, and you've got that massive, like, several meters of air gap that would sort of keep the room cooler. Yeah, my room is that air gap, and so it was terrible. And even downstairs, it was also like in the 30s. Admittedly, it was only for like a week or so. But during that heat wave, the cat really didn't like it, and so that was the only time I've ever sort of actually been like, oh, I don't know if he's going to be alive tomorrow type thing, because he wasn't trying to find somewhere cool to hide. He was trying to find somewhere away from people. And that's a big sign that a cat's about to die, is they want to do it in peace, away from people, away from other animals, away from everything. That's why you always hear stories about like those like crazy cat women and like hoarders and stuff like that, where they're always like, oh, well, one day I just never saw him again, and they find the cat and it's like, underneath the fridge or something like that. It's like in some really stupid place that, how would you ever find that type of thing in these like hoarder houses, at least? And they go there because they want somewhere peaceful to die. And that was the only time that I've been worried about him, because that's what he was doing. He was hiding behind the sofa, which was like up against the wall. But now he's just old, and so it's like, he's not got long left. But it's, you're talking like weeks at least, maybe months. Maybe he's going to make it to next year. Maybe he's going to make it to 97 years old in cat years. Whereas before it's like, oh, I don't know if he's going to be there when I wake up tomorrow type thing. But yeah, I've been looking for one of these dogs, and holy shit, they are like, I have asked around even in Japanese places, and I've just gotten no fucking responses that are actually useful. The only place that has given me anything useful is one of the people that has one on Twitter. And it said like, hey, where buy dog, please? And she's like, oh, I went into a pet store one time and it was just there. And it's like, oh, okay. so I just have to go on a road trip around all of North Japan and hope that every pet stop that I go by and stop in all of them, and hope that one of them has the dog that I want. And it's like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe no. But it's gonna be it's one of those things where it's a long commitment. It's like 10, 15, maybe 20. They are quite big dogs, so the calf is, probably about 15 years old is how old the maximum is for an actor. That's like a decade of not traveling, and I'm like, do I, because Japan is one of the few interesting countries to me, and I don't mean like in a weeb way. I mean more in like a Japanophile way. In that, I live in Europe, right? Ireland is, a really cool place. There are other places in the UK that are really cool. Um, France is it's the reason why Paris syndrome is called Paris syndrome. Um, Germany is just a bit boring. The Scandinavian countries are really nice, to be honest. And then anything below there, it's just a bit too hot to be enjoyable for me. And anything sort of east of Germany, other than, as I say, those Scandinavian countries, yeah, okay. I think Sweden technically extends out further east than Germany. I'm almost certain that Norway does, and Finland definitely is almost all, if not definitely all, um, east of Germany. Not like those, but like anything east of Poland, including Poland, is like, yeah, no, no thanks. Um, but all of that stuff is like, it's Europe. There are definitely differences. Don't get me wrong. There's a big difference between Sicily and Svalbard, but you know, they're all just descendants of Rome. Let's be honest. Even Greece, they come from Rome. Ancient history is fucking retarded anyway. Who cares? Um, America is possibly the least interesting country to me, to be honest. And the only other countries that like would be different enough are places that are in like the third world. It's like, oh, I'm sure like the Amazon rainforest, that would be like a really cool holiday. The Caribbean was really nice when I went there. Um, you know, that sort of like Southeast Asia area is really interesting as well. China would be kind of cool to go to. Um, the issue is, I would not feel safe in any of those countries, especially China. And so the only place that is like different enough to be interesting, but also safe, is Japan. But at the same time, I'm just not sure if I actually want to go. Is the thing. It's like if I could just get on a train, fall asleep, and be there in a few hours, like I can with France. Uh, you know, there I do have to change one stop. I do have to get off the National Rail and get on the Eurostar, but I could take a train to France and be there before sunset. I could do that. However, it's France, so no thanks. Um, but if I could do that with Japan, I would have gone already, probably. But it's like, do I want to go when it's, a grand just for the flights and accommodation, and what would I do there? But at the same time, if I don't go now, I'm about to lock myself in for a decade at least, hopefully at least, of not traveling. Because if you don't know much about the actor, they are not really the type of dog that you leave for a dog sitter. They are very much will be incredibly loyal to you, um, but only to you. Um, there was a reason why Hachiko, you know, did the whole Hachiko thing and stayed waiting for his owner. That's because they are incredibly loyal. Even though technically Hachiko wasn't an Akita, he was an Odate. However you're meant to say that, Odate. I don't really know. Technically wasn't an Akita, considering that the breed of Akita really only started to come into existence in, when it was restored, was the word. That restoration started in the 1920s, 30s time. Hachiko was born in the 1910s, so he was, he predated the breed of Akita. Obviously, he didn't predate the lineage or anything like that. It's fucking centuries old. But at that time, Hachiko would have been called an Odate. But yeah, it's one of those things where not a dog that you want to leave with a dog sitter. Also, I don't think I would ever want to leave a dog with a dog sitter. Not because I wouldn't trust the dog sitter, but just because I don't think it'd be very fair on the dog. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like go now or never. But at the same time, if I go now, what the fuck would I even do? It's like, yeah, I can meet my two friends I have over there. Yeah, aside from one of them doesn't speak any English at all, and it would be really fucking awkward because we would just be there like talking through Google Translate. Aside from instead of doing it through like messaging, we're just sort of sitting next to each other and doing what we normally do anyway. It's like, that would just be incredibly awkward. And my other friend, I don't know if she can speak English. I'm fairly sure that she can a bit, but also not enough to, you know what I mean? If I could speak the same amount of Japanese as she could speak English, I think she can speak English. If I could speak her language as much as she could speak mine, then we could probably go and get a few drinks together. But I can't, and so it would be really, really just kind of awkward, and I don't know what else I would do. It's like, yeah, the food's interesting, but I don't know if I would actually like it. And also, the whole recent meme of, yeah, but I have a cookbook, I have a recipe. Is it authentic in a random English city? Probably not, but is there really going to be that much difference? Also, probably not. Unless you're like a food critic, but I want something for dinner, not a fucking mouth orgasm. And like some of the sites would be nice, but 1,000 quid in total just to get there and just to be there. You know what I mean? And also, like, my friend is like full on weeb, which is kind of my fault. He wants to go there, and he's planning a holiday there for his fucking honeymoon. I know I said that meeting my friend and all that would be like that sort of autistically awkward type shit, but third wheeling a honeymoon would be, yeah. I would rather go on my own, if I'm being completely honest. But who else would I go with? It's like, oh, family, okay. My mother. Is my mother gonna want to come with me and look for nucleotizations in a pawn shop? Probably not. Would I even do that? Also, probably not. But you know what I mean? It's like certain things. do I want to go to a maid cafe? No, not really. But it's like one of those things where I feel like, if you're there, like when in Rome type shit, I just feel like you would have to. At the same time, it does look overpoweringly autistic, and so I don't know. I don't know what I'd do if I woke up tomorrow, and if I woke up and I was surrounded by fucking paper walls and long-haired actors, and I'd just been like teleported over there. It'd be like, yeah, okay. If I don't have to worry about my bank account paying for those expenses, then I would go and make the most of it. But when there's a £1,000 barrier to entry, could just buy a new GPU, couldn't I?